Hello YouTube, welcome back. Now this is a very nice looking farm and you can tell immediately it's not mine because of how neat it is. But I thought I'd best show you what something looks like as a contrast to the last video I did on harvesting. And I picked on my mate Bruce Chester, who's here again.
Hello Daniel.
Hi Bruce, it's really good to see you again. And you know, it's the first time I've seen you since the flood.
Yes,
I've noticed, and we've had all that bad weather since February this year, and May there wasn't a day without rain except for one day. And yet I come to your farm and it almost depresses me how good it's looking. I mean, it's manicured, there isn't a blade of grass out of place except maybe right up against the trees. How do you do it? How did you do it in this year?
I've actually been lucky enough to utilise a labour source which hasn't been able to be utilised, and that's some people who came here on 417 visas. So, right. I don't employ them according to the tax office. They come in, so they assist me, and they assist me really ably. They're very machine capable, and I got exposed to an international flavour. There was a Chilean lady who started this, and a Canadian lady who finished it off. There you are.
Wow.
You can't help good luck, can you?
No. But look, from where I'm standing, I'm not seeing signs of flood damage. And you must have had, coming down this hill, you must have had a lot of water.
Huge amount. Let's go for a wander and I'll show you. Because, firstly, we discussed the drain and how effective it is. So that helps me, but it only helps. We've had something that was certainly unprecedented in my time.
Yeah.
We originally walked along here and there was no sign of erosion.
That's when we first did the Macadamia show here. Yeah.
And we can see how it gathers pace. But there was no sign of that root exposure before at all.
There's a little, it's not as bad as mine, but there's still a fair bit of organic matter.
Oh, there's a lot of organic matter, and the beauty about having it mowed for Ray when he harvests is that field has already been chopped up for him. It helps. It gathers pace.
Yep.
And you can follow the flow of water from the dips in the land, you see.
Yeah.
Where my aim was prior when I did it after Cyclone Debbie was I was building up the high side of the trees to try and divert the water around.
Okay.
I was successful, wasn't I, Dan?
You were. It did divert it.
It did,
and
yes.
we should say for the viewers that you're immediately pre-harvest here. We're expecting a harvest to happen today. And this is the nut on the ground, it's not that different to the nut I had on the ground, really, Bruce. It's some of it looks browner skinned, but it's hard to really generalise.
Well, and the browner skin, I mean, really, if it's in there for, say, your 6 weeks during rain on, rain off, like the May period
like we had,
then that's what will go for the mouldy, okay? Because it'll be sitting in that moisture. But otherwise, it doesn't matter between brown and green skin, really. Yeah. And I like the glow of the shells under the green ones, but that's just a personal preference.
No, absolutely. The one thing my agronomist was afraid of was germination, but I told him, look, there seems to be almost zero germination in the nuts on the ground, and I sort of gave him the theory, well, maybe that's just because there's been no sunlight to promote germination, and so we're actually fairly protected from that.
That's a jolly good theory on that too.
It's a theory.
I'm going to take that on board, my friend.
Well, I'm still waiting on the results of that crop I harvested earlier this week, and obviously germination will be one of the categories of reject, and mould will be as well, of course. So mould can happen anywhere. God, it's happening in our houses. But, you know, I've got familiar with vinegar over the last week. My ute still smells of it.
Okay. And garlic oil, they tell me.
Oh, garlic oil, right.
That's what they tell me.
Yeah, or clove oil is the other one.
Clove oil, that's what I meant.
Clove, right.
Sorry.
No, clove oil's a bit on the expensive side, though, and vinegar's cheap as chips. So,
Is it?
yeah,
It is.
so I've
And
been...
they've got a good cleaning one right at the till at Bunnings at Ballina, which I picked up yesterday.
Yeah.
Seizing on the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, here's
So
where we can go across and we'll
Yeah.
see a lot. Now, the same
Now,
thing
there's more nuts
Yeah.
under some of these trees than others, aren't there?
344s.
The 344s are
They
having an
drop
on year?
earlier. No,
They drop earlier, right.
You know, as you said the other day in your harvest bit, this is a February, March harvest that we're doing.
Yes,
You
in
know,
June.
You've got to take that into account.
Yeah.
So
I take it this has never happened to you before.
Oh, nowhere near it. But those rain, and there were two distinct falls.
Right.
Those rain events were very, very different from each other.
Yeah.
And I mean, the poor old bomb is trying to give you live coverage of an event as it occurs.
Yeah.
There's no script it could follow, I can assure you.
No.
You know, and
you just started coming up here as Lismore was recovering from the 74 flood.
I was visiting at that stage. That's exactly right. I was really kicking off about 76, 77 when I got my combi. Whoops.
Yeah.
Love affair with a combi. Greatest
Oh,
car on the
yeah.
road it was.
Yeah.
It was that time, but I've seen a lot of these things.
Yeah.
And as I said, the impact that I decided to seize upon when the government was good enough to offer assistance, and I took advantage of it to replace the soils.
Yeah.
And I'm not devastated that it's all gone down the gurgler. In fact, quite the contrary. It's proven, like we saw up there, where plans, they're really good, okay?
Yeah.
But eventually you will find the faults, and that's when you really have to adapt your plans.
Well, we certainly had the stress test, didn't we?
Oh.
But you say the 344s have dropped largely, but what hasn't dropped?
Well, everything we've got the mixing with.
Yeah, you got 508s,
Thank you.
246s, but 246s would have dropped, wouldn't they?
They're pretty well everything. I'm only expecting, I would normally, because if I was doing it on my harvester in the old days, which is no longer, but I will get Ray here 3 or 4 times a year at least in the normal harvest season.
Right.
Year,
Ray's your harvester, by the way. Yeah, should mention for the viewers. Ray's your harvester and my builder.
Yeah.
He's just finished a bathroom in one of my cottages. He's damn good. I hope he's as good at harvesting because he's a damn good builder.
I tell you, he's par excellence.
Yeah, he's great as a builder.
He's the man with the Ferrari that we've discussed.
Ah, yes. Now, this is out of season flower, which I'm getting as well. Is this a 246 or is
It's
this
a spread or whatever it is? Let's see.
This might be a 508.
I'm going to say we're almost at a 508
because it looks like the dog
because
tongue.
it's still got a bit of the sharp.
Yeah.
But no.
But there's a lot of out of season flowering. Do you think it'll turn into nut or will it just be waste?
No, I think it will. You know, we've got a real winter piece at the stage.
Yeah.
But everybody thinks that you're reliant on insects and bees to do your pollination.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, man, you stand in these southwest winds, okay?
Yeah.
Now, if I was pollen, I'd be looking to leap onto another one to cuddle up and keep warm. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah, for sure. So the ground I'm feeling is actually quite. I mean, it's dried reasonably well.
Good and dry. Ray couldn't do it on Tuesday. Today's Friday.
Yep.
We've had good sou'westers, drying sou'westers.
And reasonably low humidity, I've noticed.
Very.
Yep.
And I gauge my evaporation a couple of different ways, but the primary one is I'm fortunate enough to have a swimming pool. And because I have a cover over it, it doesn't evaporate by the sun as much, but it does by the wind.
By the wind.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's my main...
Now I was going to stop you here too because now this is very hard to show on camera, but effectively we've got a drainage channel which is made a depression from about 3 rows up at least, all the way down between these trees, and there's a little bit of root exposure here. Still not that bad.
Oh, I'm a hypochondriac when it comes to this.
No, I mean, so, and there's very good reasons for it. But obviously there's been a bit of a run down here. There's still some nut on the ground, but has any nut gone walkabout?
Oh, yeah. We come out to... I mean, normally you would expect the little nuts to drop off here and there. Ooh, get that out of Ray's way for starters.
Yeah. I was doing that with my harvester the other day.
To sort of leaf off maybe for around here.
Right.
But if we want to see, there were heaps through here with mowing it to firstly give us access.
Yeah.
If I get a chance with my little harvester, because it's flat and I don't have to push, I'll probably just play around down here.
See what you can pick up.
In future years, we're not getting the mulligatawny in with the good crop, you know.
Right.
I think that's probably about the best way we can go.
Well, it doesn't tend to be bad nuts that come down here, does it?
Oh no, it's wash. It's just pure
any
wash.
nuts. Yeah.
So it's not leaping off the tree nuts. It's on the ground nuts that are just. Have a look. You can see the size of the slope.
You know, you've had a clean drop, Bruce. I can't see much nut left on the tree.
I think I have.
And my 344s have still got some on there, which is, you know, I mean, I'm told in the Northern Rivers the 344 can keep dropping until August, and I found that very hard to believe, but it seems to... Well, there's some still on my trees. I'm not quite sure why.
Well...
They're healthy, though.
They are.
They've been through a flush, and it looks like... Are we in a period now where what you call the flush is hardening off?
Yes.
Right.
We are. And here you are. This is... Explain it to you. I'm sorry, I'm not going to poke you with this.
No, it's okay.
But... Here you go, okay? That has now got wax on it, so that's your flush, all right? When it
so light
first
green
comes, it's soft.
Yes.
All right, and that's
sappy.
where it's, that's what the insects are after, because there's no barrier to their free...
That's what mites come for, right?
Yep, everything.
Yeah.
Soft flesh, that's the easiest for them to consume.
Yeah,
and that's the
easy
number
food.
one game. These cats are there to feed.
Look at this view, though. This is great.
It used to be a dam.
The grassy area.
Door neighbours,
So-
but it didn't hold water. Firstly, however, it came a gutser when the sheep that I had. One morning, the wild dogs came out of the reserve there, and my neighbour was he was on the ball, and he phoned me to say, "Listen, there's dogs chasing your sheep. There's a few wound up in the dam, etc."
Oh no!
And I've gone. You know, legally you can get away with not having to fence a dam.
Yeah.
But conscience-wise, if something went amiss,
Yeah.
I would never, ever, ever. So we took out the wall of the dam. By golly, gosh, it'd make a great music bowl. I'm assuring you.
Yeah.
Right here and now. I mean,
That's right. Just have to choose which act you want to perform there.
Well,
Yeah.
hey, I mean...
I'm catching the back of your sweatshirt here, Bruce. Now, I'm pretty sure you were head of operations at Channel 9 when that shirt came out.
I resigned. This is the 1985 Grand Prix.
Oh, right,
Okay,
right.
They'd asked me back. Can you believe it? They hadn't had enough of me for some reason.
Oh, right. That's great.
And
here's the very bottom of your block. So we've got...
Yeah.
This might be a 344 again or something. It's
where are we? We are more upright. Have a look at the way it's growing.
that looks like a 344 to me.
That's what I reckon.
So
I think it's a handsome tree, I've got to say.
No, it's a good tree. I mean, but the amount of out-of-season flower. But you found out-of-season flower even on your 246s, Bruce.
Yeah.
So-
This here is we're not the only ones experiencing funny nature this year.
Right.
Okay?
Who else?
You have a look at all of the trees on my place.
Yeah.
And they're sort of a bit betwixt and between about, am I growing or am I going into a bit of a sleepy period or what am I doing?
Yeah.
You know?
They don't know what's going on.
No, the seasons are decidedly topsy-turvy at the moment, and that's all. And it's
But
not
there's
some endemic climate change thing. I'm going to destroy you, Daniel. Give me a period in history when there hasn't been climate change.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I know. But I think if you take a theory and go, okay, if the trees have had no sun for months,
Yes.
and then suddenly they've got a bunch of sun now,
What would you do?
I'd think it was spring.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I'd think it was spring and I'd flower. But these flowers have been developing during the rainy period. They must have, because there have been baby little racemes before this.
Well,
So,
I find that trees are just, I'm a bit slow on the uptake of figuring out what the hell they were trying to tell me.
What they're trying to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. But maybe they saw all that rainy period as an informal winter.
Yeah.
And then
you can
and now
see
this is
where
the spring.
this is just pushed.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not going to
See,
take
it's good. Sorry, we're back.
Fine. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's really where it rolled.
Yeah.
And this was just a very handy jumper because it had no sleeves. It's great for layering.
It's fantastic. Yeah.
Being a unit manager, you get to organise clothing for people. You get to organise accreditation, which means
And you can't
can
find a good
actually
vest.
Go anywhere and everywhere.
Yeah, you just can't find a good vest these days.
Yeah. I'm totally with you.
Yeah.
And all the ladies like to layer their clothes, particularly at this time of the year.
Yeah.
So I'm just a lady.
Yeah. So now that we've missed a few harvest pickups,
Yeah.
how many do you think you're going to have?
I think this one is all important. I'll probably give it about 5 or 6 weeks.
Yep.
Now that takes us nigh on to the end of July.
It does.
And everything in theory should be flowering at that stage.
Yeah.
So as soon as that's had its period of time in doing that for a little bit, and this is all theory.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
I've got the chook manure already lined up. I'm expecting that within the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
That can sit there until I'm ready.
That sounds good to me, because you haven't been able to feed any more than I have for quite a while.
No.
Yeah.
I come out here with ash from the fire and things like that, and I play a bit of wind symphony orchestration, I like to call it, and that's where you throw down there, say in the southwesterly that's coming.
Yeah.
Just watch where this ash goes to. It's fascinating.
Yeah, I'll bet.
It blows me away, Daniel.
You've got a really good crop under these particular trees. I wonder what these ones are.
Well, we came down into this area.
Or did they roll down?
Basically 660s rolling into 344s, we thought. But I wouldn't be surprised if I've got a few H2s amongst down here.
Okay.
I'm not going to be at all surprised. I do have a map of the way the place was planted. All those years ago.
I'll tell you what, that's one hell of a nut.
They're jolly decent size, and I like the little. This is going to be a Siamese
That could
twin.
be an H2 or
It's
a double.
Siamese twin.
It's a double, yeah. Oh, no, don't bite it.
No. It's all right, honestly, I promise you. I went to buy pneumatic
nuts
shears.
you can replace, but teeth, yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Well,
you
got
can
few
replace
enough.
teeth too.
Yeah, you can. I don't really want to go through that if I can help it.
No.
I value my dentist.
So you think this is a double nut where...
Well, let's see.
Yeah. I've seen the odd double nut where they're literally two halves making up one round hole.
What it is.
That's...
I'm going to show you. Magic.
There you are.
Okay.
There.
All right.
Two,
So,
and there's two usable kernels in there. Apparently processors hate them.
Yes, they do. Thick shell.
Yeah.
Firstly, they don't roll on rollers really well. Okay.
Yeah.
But secondly, thick shell compared to tiny little wee nut inside, because you've got a shell growing halfway along the nut. Okay. But
It's not the same with chooks and a double yoker, is it?
Well, I used to pull them out when I used to do my own husking. These were what I pulled out. Not because the processors hated them, but because there was this guy up at Newry Bar. Okay, and we're going back to the 80s here.
Okay.
90s, early 90s. Guy up at Newry Bar, he was an old fella and everything. He used to sit on his veranda outside the Newry Bar store nearly every day.
Yeah.
And he loved macadamia nuts. But this way he didn't have to fiddle with the round one. He could just sit there, put them on the table with his hammer and go bang.
Oh, and bang them, yes. They don't run away on you when you hit them.
He thought I was a very nice person.
To bring him those. Yeah. But the single-sized nuts aren't so bad, and there's certainly a bit to pick up. Yeah. I guess you can't have a guess at what tonnage you're going to get until it comes in.
Well, there you go. To prepare for Ray, I've got 5 half-ton bins there.
Yep.
I don't believe he will fill them, which gives us the equivalent of 2.5 tons worth of volume.
Right.
With nut in husk.
Nut in husk.
Okay.
Would that be about 2 tons nut in shell, maybe?
No.
Not as much?
Come down to perhaps 1.5 1 1/4, 1 1/2 to be safe, okay? I've
Right.
got to say. Despite the amount that's out of its shell, but there's a lot rat-eaten there, the majority of germinator, all of those things.
Yeah, I don't see much germination though in this.
No, I've had a few. What Ray harvested it on Tuesday, I put through the husker. Well,
Yeah.
started to put through the husker.
Yeah.
But they're not likely to sweat, and I've got them under fans. We'll go up into the shed.
Yeah.
And I'll show you how. Once I got lumbered with
Well,
3/4 of a bin, which is nothing.
We've got Ray's harvester outside your shed too,
I
haven't
do.
we? We can have a look at that rig and see what that's about.
Well, there you go. There's
But-
your chance to show your mates the Ferrari tractor.
Okay, this is great. Driving a Ferrari.
Yeah.
The crop you've got this year, what's the plan? Are you going to put some of it into oil, some of it into food, or
Yeah. I get rid of it as fast as I can. I'm up to my ears in a lot of administrative, shall we say, tasks
Yes.
at the moment. And that's prohibited me from productive farm work, which is unfortunate. And I can't wait to get back to it, Daniel.
Yeah.
I just can't wait. Oh,
Yeah.
there's a load of wood that I've missed from a branch that we had to cut up.
I see. Yeah, burns pretty well if you have an open fire in this cold
It's fantastic.
weather. Does burn well. And so yeah, the crop here looks like there wouldn't be. Well, we don't know about the level of reject, but
I'm going to say it's high.
who's processing it for you? The husking and stuff.
I'm going to get rid of it with the big place down the road.
Summerland Farm.
No. And I'm glad we will come back to Summerland Farm because it's a fantastic thing. But no,
It is,
down
but
the road there's the big fern leaf plantation. And
they'll do it for you.
fortunate enough, yes,
Right.
to
Yeah.
put myself upon them. I do pay for it, let me add it.
Look, I was trying to book Summerland myself, but they're booked out till the end of June, and there's a waiting list after that.
That was going to pull Ray up on the harvest.
And me.
Yeah.
And in the end, my contractor found me a
skip
spot.
firstly.
Well, we got to skip. We got to skip okay, but only an 8-metre one. But the real problem was getting it processed because everyone is doing exactly what you and I are doing,
Yeah.
and getting their first harvest in June. And the lovely people at Summerland Farm, I mean, God bless them, but they can't handle it.
No.
And,
because instead of having 2 or 3 harvests worth at various people's farms at the moment,
Yeah.
the floodgates have opened as far as, I'm able, that's what's happening.
Well,
So you can't do it.
I have a dehusking rig and 3 silos, and they've not been turned on since I bought the place. I don't know how to operate them. I don't know how to service them. But my agronomist said to me, listen, don't get rid of them. They could be quite valuable.
Well,
And but they chew up a lot of electricity, I'm told.
they do. Well, I'm fortunate enough, I generate more than I use in electricity.
So the shed you've got here has solar panels all over the top, I noticed.
It has. It's got 38. I was lucky enough when the solar schemes first came in.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough.
Oh, you got a good feed-in tariff.
Forget that. I got 10 kilowatts. There's the valuable part.
Wow.
Nowadays, maximum you can get is 6.6, I think.
With a 5 kilowatt inverter, I think.
Correct. I've
So,
got 2 5 kilowatt inverters. you
yeah,
see.
yeah.
And we're not allowed to put the camera on that.
Okay. No, that's all right. So here is this a Ferrari?
This is Ray.
A Ferrari tractor.
I promise you get to see the logo around here.
Oh, right. I thought Ferrari tractors were white, but this one's
I promise you.
there you go. A genuine Ferrari tractor. And this looks like a Lismore engineering rig,
Yes.
a bit like the one on my own
So,
harvester. Does it have a dehusker on board, a partial dehusker?
the trommel dehusks a little bit
Yeah.
as it goes.
Apparently
But
there's
not
a
as far as
there's
I
a
know.
rubber thing somewhere here that rubs the nuts as they go up and can get rid of both trash and some husk
Right.
on the ones that have it. But
bigger
the rubber thing wears out over time.
Well, you see, hopefully we've got rid of most of those sticks in the on the floor. Which
Yep.
are the things, they're going to be the things that block all of these.
Yeah,
Okay?
sticks and chickweed and leaves.
You've
and,
got it.
Yeah.
You see the grass that's been mowed
Yeah,
plays a part. But just the rough housing of the nuts
yeah.
up here will take off a little bit of husk. But it,
See, there's the dehusking thing, I think.
Ah, okay.
That's that rubber blade.
All right. No, that makes sense. That's exactly. Okay.
It's meant to rub some husk off.
Yep.
But it never gets rid of more than half, you know.
Let me show you how it works now. It's going to be freezing in here, so I'll turn off the overhead fan. Okay. And that means we're not going to freeze. So I've been playing with what was harvested the other day.
This is a dehusker, isn't it?
Yeah.
But you're not going to use it yourself?
I used to use it. I've had it since 1989, I think.
Right.
And in fact,
These
they widened the bars. I still keep nuts that are too small.
right.
So there's a
17mm cutoff,
I
wasn't it?
think I'm 15 on this or 14. So
Right.
you know, I'm a little bit too
It's all right, you can still use it.
There's what's been harvested.
Okay.
A bit of rat-eaten stuff.
Yeah, you can
Don't
see.
you love their teeth marks? I don't know if the camera can pick it up,
Yeah.
but their teeth marks all around the edges where they've had to gnaw. And there's not one little bit of nut left in there.
Often they don't have to gnaw that much though. So here's one. They only gnaw as much as it takes to get the nut out. Actually, there's a nut still in this one.
Is there? That's most unlike them.
Here, see?
Okay, yeah, you're right.
Maybe you interrupted him in mid-feed, but
Oops.
yeah.
Hate that.
Yeah, I know.
Well, they go up into the top of the roller doors where they'll carry them up there and they can nudge them into a corner where they can gnaw away at the shell. And when you think of rat teeth, not that I know a lot about rat teeth, okay,
No.
but they always grow and they've got to continually grind them down on things like concrete. Well, this is a good grinder
or
as
the
well.
cables of machinery.
It's, okay, you've got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's never happened to me, but I know it may happen. I'll be very angry when it does happen, but
and
nothing
it's
you
the
can
warmth
do.
of the engines that attracts them in the winter.
Oh, as well.
Oh yeah, there's a nice place to nest in, I can assure you.
Yeah.
But here's what explains the husker to you beautifully. Okay, come on around. So I've got a hammer mill underneath it.
So this is a single core husker. Is this what we
Yes,
call
it
a
is.
single core?
Yep.
Right. I think I got a
Okay,
dual core.
and all we're going to do is roll. That rolls in that direction.
Right.
To send the nuts through all the way through here.
And
And
then
then they go through this piece, which I'm probably not strong enough to load the springs,
they're
but that
spring loaded.
it drags off the
Is that
husk.
rubber or metal?
I started off with rubber ones. Now it's rubber with metal that's in them.
With metal
and most of my
ridges.
metal's exposed because it's like me. It's a bit aged. You can
Right.
get into it.
Yeah, I don't say
But-
that. Yeah,
okay.
but that's fine. And then that process of the nut being forced along past those things will take off all of the husk most of the time, or does it miss
there
some?
are a few little blighters that weave their way through.
Right.
But the beauty of it is you just sit there and heave them back up into there, and they can roll.
And they have another go. Yeah.
And if they're too small, okay, you identify them and heave them in under
drop
the
them
hammer
off.
mill.
And what's this lower thing for?
That's all the dross.
That's the trash table, is it?
The trap for me is I drop this down into the hammer mill every now and again because I forget to take it out.
Ah.
But that's all for the dross. And
And where does that go?
I've got a pipe that's going out there. If I was using it full time, I would have surrounded and point the pipe down. As it is I'm just spreading things onto that lawn, and the mower will take care of it as it goes.
Right, there's the exit chute. Yeah, that's great.
Those.
But that's good for small volumes of nut, I take
Yes,
it.
it is.
Right.
You know how we said about the small growers in your
Yeah.
second last video that you loaded?
Yeah.
The-
What do you think about that, by the way?
I'm going to come to that with you. I can tell you, we might go off camera first because I'll get long-winded, as you know.
Oh no, don't.
However, okay.
You can give the viewers the short
These,
version.
remember the machine
Yeah.
where on park properties it was blowing and things like that? They had these things on it, which were the effective first sweepers, okay?
Right.
Readings, I think it
Looks
was,
like a
was
rubber-
making them in
rubber
Lismore.
rake, yeah.
That's, I took them, cut them in half, put them onto an aluminium handle and made them as a rubber rake because I
never
was still playing around with nets and things like that.
Yeah,
in
I was
those
to say
days.
you can't see that in shops.
Okay, no. This is. It doesn't work, so you know it's a genuine Bruce Chester invention.
Okay.
Okay, it's right from the word go.
No. Looks like it works to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And look, that's really the quality of what There's a few blackies in there, and I've been running them over there just fast, that's all.
Right.
And those are the last year's ones that we saw, earlier on.
Which you still need to get rid of.
Well, I do, but they'll only float if I put them into a processor.
Right.
They're good nut, I'm going to tell you right now, they're a very nice nut.
But because they're now very dry,
They'll
they
float.
would float and give you a false reject? Is that the idea?
Yeah.
Oh, right. So that's why you don't want to process them or touch them.
I bag them up into a few soft string bags. I've given enough people macadamia crackers.
Yeah.
Decent ones. I've tried out the varieties because I'd like to know what's
which
on
ones
the
taste
market.
good. Yeah.
Okay.
But all your varieties are good tasting ones also.
I
Reportedly.
I've got to tell you.
Yeah.
So that's basically we're into harvest mode at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, no, very much. It looks like you're very ready for it, and whatever's on the ground, you've got the orchard into the best possible position to pick it up. So moving through that, but back to that AMS thing.
Yes, please.
What do you think? Do you think these changes will hurt small growers?
Absolutely. What it does, I'm going to tell you here and now, Daniel. Okay. We've had a lot of changes to laws in my life, okay?
Yeah.
Kerry Packer summed it up beautifully with, since I was a kid, you've brought in over 10,000 new laws and the place is no better for it.
Yep. I saw that on YouTube.
Oh, it's the most fabulous Spanish Inquisition I've ever seen in my life.
He took on an entire room and won. Yeah.
Disarmed them from the word go.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
right from the word go when they go.
Some of them weren't happy about it.
Oh, well, the look on their faces must have been, but I mean, they were, right from that word go. Will you state your full name and the capacity in which you appear here today? Kerry Francis Bullmore Packer, reluctantly. I loved it. I mean, that's poetry in motion, Daniel. That really is, okay?
It was a battle. It was a battle of will and intellect. Yeah.
And he outshone them on every level.
Yes. Yeah.
But the AMS, okay? Now, I'm going to come back to, in your video, and I've made some notes.
Yeah.
And I want to comment, and I want to have good thought to do it.
Okay.
Because what it goes to is a core problem in what goes on with our society at the moment.
Yeah.
And I don't mean just the Macadamia Society. But I'm going to take you back to the Horticultural Research and Development Levy or Act, okay?
Yes. Yeah.
Which was specifically designed to go into a representative body for each grower.
In our case, the AMS.
In our case, the AMS. One representative body is what you had to have. Now, it was for research and development, and I've got to say, this has gone beautifully.
Yeah.
And we've exported this research and development, and we've imported it as well. We've stimulated something in all of that.
There's some give and take.
AMS has done that magnificently on us macadamia growers' behalf. Okay?
Yeah.
The other portion, and I'm led to believe it's about 65%, is for marketing and advertising to sell the product.
Absolutely.
Which is absolutely necessary because we have growing tonnage every single year, okay? We have markets, sure, no marketplace is easy. It's not slim pickings anywhere.
No.
And everybody's very competitive. Everybody has different advantages. In Africa, they've got the labour costs being a decided advantage.
Yep.
In our case, we've got efficiency in enterprises with big infrastructure investments to our
and we've got mechanisation, we've got the partnerships with big cattle farms and chook farms where we can get large quantities of manure.
And we can afford the fuel, we can afford the fertiliser, we can afford those things. So here is a big place that we are dealing in, and the AMS once again have done a magnificent job. You don't hear of that we've got huge amounts left over from last year all that frequently.
Well, we did sort of this last season, and hence the price has been a bit soft. But although they could sell the whole macadamias, not so much the fragments and the bits that you put in ice cream and stuff.
And each one of those things represents another marketing opportunity that presents pretty little head, I am going to say,
Sure.
okay?
We need to drive the demand.
Thank you. And variety is what's going to do it. Now, most of the small growers have actually been responsible for a lot of this industry's growth. And we're calling small growers now not large commercial enterprises, whether they were set up for that, like what my father did with the Packers,
Sure.
or whether they were set up on an even grander scale, which is now typical in Bundaberg, etc. Okay?
So we define small farmer as, say, 20 hectares or less?
Well,
20 planted hectares?
okay,
Or maybe even less
again,
than that. Yeah.
Well, look at me. I'm a minuscule farmer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm not big either. I'm 13, so yeah.
You've got vastly more trees than me. You've got vastly more space to have to work your craft in.
Well,
It's
more
a whole
headaches
different
too.
story. Thank you.
Yeah.
Larger headaches.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you can't take away from what the AMS has done. It has been superb, and I'll bet you there's a lot of other agricultural representatives who take the research and development levy, and they have not done as well as the macadamias have.
Right.
I'm confident in that.
Right.
Now,
So there's a proven track record of it doing well.
Beautifully.
But how is that under threat now?
It is now under threat because what you do is you start to divide into not a macadamia farmer, but you start to divide into those who contribute or those who profit or whatever else, and it part demonises within the group.
Yeah.
And that's what I dislike the most. I'm going to
That's
tell
against
you.
my gut feel too.
Yeah.
Once you get rid of equality, like one voice, one value, you get people feeling disenfranchised, even if the small growers are being looked after.
And it helps to demonise, and that's not productive. Okay, sure, this competitive approach, I call it confrontational more than competitive nowadays. I mean, but rather than a collaborative approach, which is what the AMS has done, and you drew attention to the news letter, okay?
Yeah.
I'm going to reduce you back to something that not a lot of people work on, all right?
Yeah.
News is the plural of new.
Yeah.
All right, now most people don't. I used to sell radio.
Yeah.
I wasn't intentionally pulling people's legs, but I used to go, oh, really, it stands for North, East, West, South.
Yeah.
All points bulletin on the radio, you
Yes,
know?
yes.
Ha, ha, ha. But it's only the plural of news. Now, you also identified where it's really handy in that newsletter where the knowledge can be shared, and it's only up to those people who go and source it, absorb it. Also, the people who can bring you and who are playing.
Yeah.
You look at Matty and his groundbreaker, okay, along the sides of his rake. You look at him along the sides of the holes. Now, that's one aspect, but it started a field of discussion, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
Okay. This is where the AMS camaraderie between farmers is perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I know.
And they're going to dissolve it. Hello, Ray. How are you?
Hey, Ray. How are you, stranger? Bet you didn't expect to see me here.
I didn't.
Ray, welcome to YouTube.
We're making a YouTube video. Bruce is my guest. We were talking about you earlier.
Oh, good.
We were admiring your Ferrari. I was going to say, I'm a barrister, but I don't drive a Ferrari.
Oh, you don't? Haven't you got one down in Sydney?
Nah, just the Mitsubishi Ute, mate.
Oh,
so, are you well?
I'm excellent, thank you.
We've just had a look at the orchard where you're about to harvest, and my God, he's got it in good nick.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're spoiled compared to my harvest. I had sticks and God knows what. I was running around trying to pick them up. We got an 8-metre skip bin full.
Oh, excellent.
That was 2 days ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, soft soil.
Oh,
Yeah.
very soft, yeah.
Yeah, I reckon you're going to do okay here.
Yeah,
It
should be.
felt pretty firm underfoot, didn't it, Bruce?
Hey, it's going to tell us pretty jolly quickly like it did the other day either way, isn't it?
And there'll still be some that'll be too like a little bit too moist sort of thing on that side slope. I'll just see how I go up and down and go from there.
Have you done your own place?
Yeah, done it twice.
Right.
Yeah.
And what's the quality results like?
Yeah, excellent.
They're good quality, right?
Well,
Even though you've had to leave it for a while?
I had it really clean to start with at the beginning of the year.
Right.
So when we did get that dry section, so the first pickup was 34 and a half, And then the
That's
second
that's
one was
good.
38.5.
On Hawaiian varieties
Yeah.
or A's.
There's scattered A's through it. but
Right.
Mostly Hawaiian, yeah.
They are good results.
Yeah.
What about the reject? Was there a lot of mould, or was there not?
No,
Right.
not too bad. And also it's fairly clean and short grass and whatever. So it'll be
the fact
interesting to
you've
see
done
what
too.
this one is.
Yeah, it will be interesting. Yeah, we
I
saw a
mean,
lot
at
of
my
different.
place.
Oh, this next
the
one?
last one I've just done.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a third one. So that'll be interesting to see what it is.
Have you got your nuts into Summerland?
Yeah.
You did. Right.
Well, they were booked in.
Yeah. You must have booked them in a long time ago.
Yeah, sort of 3-4 weeks ago, but then it was delayed because of a rain, so they were taken in last Friday. Or no, Monday, I think. They picked them up Saturday.
Have you seen where they're booking now? July.
Yeah.
July.
I spoke to someone on Tooheys Mill Road. He said early July
Before they can process the
It's a
nuts.
headache, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's bad. I mean, my contractors just go from farm to farm to farm. They need to be able to book skips and processing on their timetable. They can't meet Summerland's timetable, or else they'd be just sitting on their hands in all this sunny weather. I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah, I don't know how it's going to work with, and I don't do much contracting this year compared to last.
Yeah.
But it would be a nightmare this year just trying to get a booking in,
Yeah.
and trying to work 3 and 4 and plus weeks in advance,
Yeah.
let alone the wet weather. But well, I won't say that too
See,
loud.
my little processing plant had to come a guts back with the tumour. 'Cause, well, you were saying about your silos. That's what the veranda on my shed is the silos.
I got 3 silers and a dehusker, and I wouldn't know where to switch any of them off.
Oh, I had more than the dehusker. I had a cracker, I had a colour sorter, and the tables to run it through.
A colour sorter as well.
Yeah. Ancient
Apparently,
colour
if you
sorter.
buy them new, they're about 90 grand for the whole setup.
This was an ancient one.
Yeah.
I bought a whole rig of processing for, I think it was 20 grand from Corndale Organic Bush Foods back down at Corndale.
Right.
Back in 19... Ooh, holy dooly, where are we? 1998.
Right.
And we set it all up, got it all set up. It's a colour processor. Oh my God, that was the most
Do they
hardest-
use lasers now or something?
they could use
Summerland-
anything. That's,
Yeah.
I've got a huge compressor down there with very little pressure, haven't I? But I had an air tank and everything. Oh, you got to register everything, bureaucracy, you know.
Oh, dear.
And it was all on colour sorting. Like it would read what colour, brown or white, and fit with air. It'd push the brown out. Okay, over to another piece. And largely, you got a lot of white. It suited me to have the little chips of brown and things like that it didn't pick up or were embedded in the white, because mine was all going to oil stock, and I wanted...
You wanted the best quality
But
oil.
it's not a lot of chip that's involved, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully.
But that was a little operation that was set up there, foibled by cancer, but those are the breaks.
What do you think's going to happen to the macadamia price? Is it going to go back up after this, or are we in for a bit of a rough ride?
I don't know.
We're all guessing, aren't we?
I'm
I'm hoping it'll get back up towards $5, but it might take a few years.
No one would have thought it would have gone below 4 a year ago, would you?
You can't just concentrate on the price though, because the inputs are all going up horribly, and the
Yeah.
supply chains that get them there. So that's the really big equation. It's like the thing.
Well, I'm
with
switching to
wages
manure.
Keeping up with.
I'm switching to manure like you, not only because I believe it's better, having spoken to you and Peter Fraser,
Yeah.
but because it's cheaper.
It
know?
is far cheaper.
So Eco Growth went up double. Like a ton of Eco Growth is over $2,000 now for their granular stuff, and yet the Silica Booster chicken pellets that I've been getting have gone up from 400 to 420. That's all it is, and you could put that on the diesel it takes to ship it to Norco and Lismore.
Absolutely.
And that stuff is great.
Yeah.
My trees have taken off with that stuff, and
What's
it's
that product?
called Silica Booster, but it's basically an enhanced chook manure.
It's organic life, isn't it?
It's organic life, so it's got some good stuff like sulfate of potash.
That's the brand of it, Organic Life.
Yeah.
Organic Life's the other product, Queensland
oh,
Organics. So no. But they're all brand names. Silica Booster's another brand name of Queensland Organics. But why I like it is it's got sulphate of potash.
Yeah.
So the stuff that you normally need from granular food, it's got in. It's got some boron, and it's got silica, which I am a huge believer in terms of its ability to help roots and get trees out of phytophthora.
Yeah.
And so it's pelletised like dynamic lifter, and it's 420 a tonne. And I put that on my trees and gave a double dose to some A16s, which were looking peaky, and they just shot out of the ground. It's the best food I've ever used. It breaks down
and
from
food
pellets.
spread or best spread or something? Or?
Well, they spread it, but best spread is down for the count, and they're not. If they're back at all, it won't be till later this year. So I've got to find a new way of getting stuff delivered and spread on my farm, and that's a big issue.
Yeah, for sure.
We have got some people who spread loose manure, and I might have to go back to loose manure simply because that's their business model.
Yeah.
Feeding is going to be a major issue until something like Best Spread pops its head up again.
Well, they were under the pump beforehand.
They were under the pump. They had they could have expanded then, and they'd have still made money. But all their trucks went under in the flood. All their stuff in the shed went under. There were 13 tonnes of Silica Booster and about 4.5 tonnes of Ozcal of mine in the shed that it's probably now in the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah.
They lost everything, and thankfully Norco, God bless them, replaced the lot, or gave me full credit in money terms. It'll cost me more to buy the same stuff again, but at least I wasn't fighting insurers. So Norco, thank you, amazing. But getting the new stuff spread is going to be a big issue.
Yeah, for sure.
For all of us. You used to rely on them too, didn't you? Or you spread your own?
No. Used to get best spread and whatever, but they were always under the pump. Trying to get them.
Yeah. You'd ring them and then say, we're smashed. Smashed. What's
Red
that?
Baron's
What's that mean? Avocados are smashed.
Yeah, Red Baron is also a good spreader, and he's more along the side of the lanes than general spreading like
Broadcast.
Best Spread with the broadcast. Yeah.
No, Best Spread would spread under the tree. If you said band it in the tree row, they'll do it in band in the tree row. But there's a guy called Red Baron.
Red Baron.
You'll have to give me his details.
Yeah, he's up Federal Way.
He doesn't do it from a plane, does he?
No. Snoopy versus, eh?
Right. Norco actually offered to helicopter spread granular food on our property, and then the idea was they'd band a lot of properties together. You'd get a source of granular food. They were going to order it in, but it wasn't the best sort of granular food, and they were going to spread it by helicopter over the rows. It worked out about $190 an hour for the spreading, but they'd get a lot done in an hour. You just needed a helipad or an area where a helicopter would land, and then tractor with forks so that they could fill the hopper with the granular food, and then start spreading it all around.
Right.
And the logistics stopped me from doing it, but in the end my agronomist said, look, I'm against it. I actually thought it was clever because you don't go slipping on the ground. It definitely isn't banded in the tree row, it's broadcast.
Yes, I like that.
But for an hourly rate for bulk jobs for multiple farms, it actually wasn't a bad idea. And it can help blow some odd nut off the trees as well if you've got any loose nut in the trees.
When I first moved here.
But it would have scared my neighbours' horses and that sort of stuff as well. So look, in the end I thought, look, top marks for effort.
Absolutely.
But I didn't do it this time.
When I first moved here, Kenny Gibbons, who was Fernley Special, okay, your 49% crack out type nuts.
Oh, yes.
Just down there.
What happened to that variety of nut? Is it still a...
Don't know. I'll bet you there's the odd one still there. It'd be worthwhile finding out.
Yeah.
But they were 3 or 4. Gibbons had one there, and there were a few farms. And what they used to do was get... Casino Airport was the operational one at that stage, and the light aircraft would fill up with the insecticides.
Right.
And they used to insecticide with the planes, crop dust almost, okay? And that's how these guys used to do it. This is before the days of drift legislation and whatever else. But Kenny Gibbons used to have fish in a dam. And they got knocked off bang up. I know that with the aerial spraying. But yeah, that's what they used to do. So
Yeah.
this is a new upgrade of that, and it's a very much more sensible thing.
Well, maybe, yeah. Look, I didn't take it up, but I do need fertilising ASAP. I mean, my trees haven't been fed since last August, and that's a bad thing. Yeah.
Bondi's blimps are probably the sort of thing that could take care of that.
No, they get close enough to the ground, they're going to land on you. So.
Yeah, okay. Well, that was an
I'm not
idea,
having a Bondi's blimp, yeah.
Good old Bondi, eh?
Yeah. He had an ego about him, didn't he? Yeah.
They even named a beach after him in Sydney somewhere.
And a university. It's still around.
Yeah. Well, he did pay for that one, you know what I mean?
Yeah. All right, well, we'll pause to do some business, but
Okay.
we'll finish up with you soon, Bruce, because I want to hear what you said about the AMS. But we're back.
Right.
We're back.
Bruce.
Bruce has got some resident butcher birds. Here we go.
There you go, my friend. Have a nice time. Where are your mates?
How can you tell them apart?
Well, Squawkley's on his own because he's last year's offspring, I think.
Right.
And Mum and Dad, they're looking after Chirpley, who's this year's offspring. You get them. This one's called Squawkley because he sings along with the music on Triple J. Honestly, it's just unreal. I shouldn't say here.
That's great.
But yeah, they'll sit on the chairs there and listening to the music and when there's a song that really resonates, they'll fill in bits and everything. It's just fan.
Well, they're clever birds. They're meant to be very clever birds, the butcher birds.
They've trained me bloody well. I can tell you that right here and now,
absolutely. And you're feeding him cheese.
Yeah, a little bit of cheese. And they prefer the smoky, old tasty one rather than the normal cheese, okay?
Right.
They've got an acquired taste. Their very favourite is the leftover parts of smoked salmon or smoked trout. Let me emphasise.
Yes. So before Ray showed up, you were talking about the small grower sort of thing and where we interfere with equality.
Well,
Can I just say my thoughts on that were when I entered this industry, I never met a bunch of people who were more happy to see each other succeed than macadamia farmers. There was literally there's no hint of competition. Everyone was happy to see the other person succeed, and we all felt like we were driving towards the same goals.
we're pioneers, man.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
So the changes threaten that. My gut feel is they do.
Yes,
Yeah.
undoubtedly they do. Come on, let's go back to, firstly, it is a representative society.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
The emphasis on association.
Yeah.
We watched the demutualisation of AMP, and that was my first introduction to somebody who takes a golden handshake.
Well,
Parachute,
that was a disaster. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Okay.
Long-term disaster too.
Yeah. Longer term disaster waiting. Honestly, it hasn't improved things. So, and that's one of many. I've got to tell you now, we're not going to harp on about it because it's happened. But what we need to do is address these things, and the takeover of people's associations where there's a free flow of information, as you rightly identified, welcomed amongst the participants, not feared by the participants.
Yeah. Now, if someone invents something new, their first instinct is let's share it with everyone.
Please. Okay.
Rather than let's hide this and get a advantage for ourselves.
Yeah, let's do the patent.
Which coming from my background, I assumed would happen in any industry, but it just didn't happen in this one. Whether it's a hippie thing or whether it's a...
It's not. It's just camaraderie.
It's a camaraderie thing, yeah.
Yeah, and you can't put it any better than that. It's a common spirit to actually achieve rather than at everybody else's expense and use secret things away. That's unfortunately we've developed that way, and there's been a lot of letters of law that have been introduced that appear contrary to the spirit of law in which they're introduced under.
Right.
And I'll go directly to Memorandum of Articles of Association, namely a chart of how you do business, okay?
Yeah.
Laying out that map. Now, it's proprietorship. So that got fairly well effectively made into a voluntary thing with the Corporations Act in 2001, the way I read the thing.
Yeah.
Now, we've got an association that grew with a rich history with a lot of people. Keith Ainsbury was fantastic. He was one of the very first movers and shakers in this industry. His passion where he recognised that, listen, we have a market here which has an intrinsic value over and above just being nuts.
Sure.
Okay, so let's play with this and see how we can develop it, because we're so young in comparison to the vast supplies of others. Let's create a unique demand. He had his eye on the ball, and there have been many others. Peter Fraser, and I like the calibre, even though I haven't met him. I don't believe, anyway, not in decades if I have previously.
We'll have to organise that.
We will, but
yeah.
I like the calibre of him firstly, okay? And he broached onto the AMS briefly in your episode 9.
Yeah.
Now, you could tell that he wasn't truly happy with the change in marketing direction.
Well, the old marketing director lives in Rosebank, just down the road from us. So there was a bit of local bias as well. But there's no doubt that previous marketing director kicked some major goals.
There's the salient
all by
point.
himself.
That's the salient point. We don't have to qualify the success.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it doesn't mean the new ones are bad though. I just think give them a go. They've just arrived, you know. So
marketing plan. It might be a reorganisation of the initial stimulus to sell. However, okay, no marketing plan is ever idle, and you can't sit there and go, well, that's bad. I can give you an example of bad, and Coca-Cola did it to their brand, but let's not harp on.
No. But look, we've dealt with the issue of equal representation, and I think we're agreed that one vote should be one value.
I think we need to go further than that. Can I please?
But what about fees though? Should the bigger growers pay more to be in the AMS than smaller growers? Because they get a better monetary benefit.
To the point. Would you like to be a frog?
Sure, yeah. Okay. Yep, okay. I should mention for the viewers' benefit, Bruce has the most amazing coffee and tea cups that you've ever seen. Let's have a good time. Oh my God.
Oh, come on.
Bruce,
all sorts of things.
I mean, the design is amazing, but the joke, I mean... Anyway,
no, pardon my back to the camera.
No, that's okay. So what do you?
The salient point about this, Daniel.
What do you reckon?
In your video, you've gone fees, what we pay to be members, associate or otherwise. Okay, now. That's not the only source of income, my friend. Come on. We've paid a levy, which is a 4-letter word for tax. Make no bones about it. Okay. So we've paid a levy collected on behalf of our representative body, which the government matches. Okay. So
the big growers.
Membership. These guys get a lot of money for investing in these things, specifically designated to invest in research and development and marketing. Now, that is a hell of a lot more money than membership fees actually would ever raise. I can assure you.
So this is the levy we pay on every kilo of macadamia harvested, and so the bigger growers are already paying much more than the smaller growers.
They are, but as you so astutely pointed out, they're also gathering a hell of a lot more revenue too. So they've got the capacity to do so.
So in reality, raising the membership fee for the larger growers is a bit irrelevant, isn't it?
Absolutely irrelevant. It's the irrelevant in the room, I can assure you.
It
really is. No, and to take the voice away on the muscle, okay? I mean, what are you going to do? We said we'll go international so that we can be international macadamia representatives.
Well, there is now. There's I forget what it's called.
We used the name OSMAC before, okay?
Yeah.
Great, fantastic, all right?
Well, OSMAC's used for the conference.
Yes.
Yeah.
If it's an international status, great. It identifies.
Oh no! There's a new world. There's a new world body now that they've created, partly with Australian money.
Not that feared world.
I think it's called World Maca, something like that. World Macadamia Organisation or something. I forget what it's called. There's an ad for it in the last journal, where they're supposedly promoting marketing of macadamias worldwide. So some of our money goes into the world body, and presumably mixes with South African money and Kenyan money.
Correctly,
and
to sell into the nut market broad and generally, which is cashews, pistachio, almonds, etc.
And to break
How
new
do you
markets.
take your tea?
Just white, please. Yeah.
Just white?
Sorry, we're having a cup of tea on YouTube. This is...
That's okay.
Sorry if we're over fascinating some of the viewers.
Yeah, sorry about this.
No, that's good. So really the fees issue is a bit irrelevant as well.
Totally irrelevant, and particularly in terms of revenue
Right.
that joint enjoys. Now, it's our association. It's like going to your golf club or your tennis club or whatever else.
Yeah.
We come back to that camaraderie. It's something that's an input from people together, and I'm going to say to you, the macadamia industry is exemplary of benefits that have come out of it.
Right.
You know,
But if the AMS needs more money, if you accept that as an argument, and I don't necessarily accept it, but if you accept that the AMS needs more money, is the solution raise the levy?
no.
By 0.1 of a cent a kilo or whatever else that they want to charge?
Firstly, let's go back to the needs rather than wants.
Yeah.
Big difference between the two. So, the needs more money, I would find hard for them to justify purely on the basis that I'd like to see how much revenue they actually gain. I hope I've done you okay there.
No,
I'd like to see how much revenue they actually gain, these people.
Yeah.
I don't mean these people nasty, but what's our pool that we're playing with in terms of, one, research and development, and two, the marketing.
Yeah.
Now, it's the replacement for Jolyon to actually govern the body that represents us and collects a huge amount of revenue in
the levy.
Four-letter word for tax.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that's what really is. Let's start from there.
Yeah.
There will be people who go, well, I reckon we can spend this better, and no. Fine. Okay. We've got to go through all of that. Everybody has a right to an input. Okay?
Right. Yeah.
If it actually doesn't get rejected along the way, then you've got a higher quality of acceptance in the input, is my way of figuring.
Yeah.
The association does that best. Forget the big boys, little boys argument, which is only a demoniser. They're completely different things. One is a large commercially run enterprise.
Yeah.
Okay, you've asked me on a few occasions, could you do this or that? Not on your Nelly.
Yeah.
In South Africa, where you've got cheap labour and you don't have the affordability of diesel and all of that, okay, yes, it's possible, and it's probably how they do it, to be brutally honest.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Now, our association, which we're all in, whether you're a member or not, you're having levy taken from you. You are being taxed for your production. And as you know, production is not easy.
No.
It's not a mere bagatelle, okay?
No.
There's a lot of angst and heartache goes into every crop, I can assure you, and you know by personal experience.
Yeah. It tends to be a bit invisible, of course, because we pay the levy, or it gets taken out of any money we get back from the process. So it's taken away automatically.
Thank you.
Yeah, we don't get an invoice for the levy, or we don't get, like on our tax return, saying thanks for your taxes, here's where it went.
Thanks.
And so there's but it is food for thought that levy does fund just about everything.
It goes to the guts of the issue as to, are you going to split the one representative body that is entitled to receive the levy?
Yeah.
Now, if you split it into large commercial enterprise, small growers, okay, and you have two representative bodies, what does the government levy legislation say happens to the levy? That's how dangerous this ultimately becomes if your association
becomes fragmented. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay?
So better basically to reject all the changes.
It ain't broke. Why we've got to fix it is my attitude. I'm sorry about that.
No, I mean, that's my inclination as well, but I thought, give it a fair go. And I mean, the other thing that, you've got to resist bloody mindedness when all the promotion is one way and they're not giving any airtime to alternative arguments.
That always makes me...
That makes me irritable too, because they're not giving you the pros and cons. They're just giving you the pros and saying, will you please vote for it? The question is, what will farmers do? I mean, they've only been presented with one side.
Thanks.
Are they going to vote against it, or are they just going to,
It needs a lot more discussion than that. Now, I made myself some notes after watching... I've watched that video on the AMS twice, and I didn't want to shoot my gob off on a typewriter, okay?
Yeah.
Because you can't do it. But firstly, okay, I'm going to tell you the pride and joy that I take out of the macadamia industry levy and where it went. And I can't give you a better example than Summerland House with no steps, who were in existence as a really good, it was a charitable type organisation. Now that baby has developed into, as you said, full-time employment for a heap of people. They are not ever disabled, they are actually enabled to use their abilities.
But without our industry working as a group,
Gee whiz,
it wouldn't have happened.
it wouldn't have been anything
And
like it.
I haven't heard of any other industry that has ganged together to support people with disabilities.
Thank you so much.
Everyone pats themselves on the shoulder about being equal or hiring the odd disabled employee, but to support an entire business run from the ground up by people with disability, I can't think of it happening any other way except some sheltered workshops run by charities.
Thank you. I've never seen it happen, and I'm so proud to be a part of that industry.
But that was AMS? That was the AMS? Did they coordinate that?
The AMS gets to coordinate these things.
Right.
There are a few prime movers in anything that you know, okay? And they're the movers and shakers. They're the ones that actually prompt things along. Now, we've had movers and shakers who've had a really lovely spirit in the way that they wanted this industry to develop. And they've guided our investment via levy, I think, admirably. I really, truly do. Okay? These characters, all right, I don't want to be Shanghai. I don't want to see it Shanghai. I can't put it any better way than that. By vested interests, which represent fewer and fewer of the association of people. And there's
the biggest farmers will have 12 times the vote of a small farmer, and there's 800 of us. So it would only take about 10 big growers to gang up to effectively control any vote, and that's and if they informally, of course, colluded and said let's all vote one way on who the CEO is or where we spend the levy money on that sort of stuff, I think there's a danger there in that it's like branch stacking without actually
absolute branch stacking
without branch members, because you've got this vote stacking.
It's the covert way of doing it. That's all I'm going to say in that regard on that, because it is covert. It is intentionally to divert you in a direction and to distract you from what this covert activity is. I don't like it.
I'm just wondering what's behind it. You know, is it a drive for more money, which from what you're saying it can't be.
Control.
But is it large farmers belly aching saying we want more control over it?
No, it's an opportunity that you see, and you see it all the time, in where there is a commercial gap that can be filled, and somebody can be very astute in playing that game.
Right.
Okay. Now, I'll give you two examples that are going on, one locally and one internationally, which is exactly the same sort of manoeuvring if you can expand your thinking.
Right.
Firstly, you've got Mike Cannon-Brooks, who has really, he is virtually in control of AGL without being in control of AGL because he's manoeuvring.
He seems to be successfully.
I love the guy, I've got to tell you, okay? Right. And a lot of the projects he's associated with. You've got Elon Musk manipulating Twitter in exactly the same fashion.
Yes.
Now, neither one, do we even need to know their agenda? Because we're not going to stop it or do anything else or enhance it either way. The things that people don't take into account when they see the headlines and sensationalism of it It is corporate manoeuvring at its finest. Okay, Elon, he goads them. It's great.
Yeah.
And basically, okay, if he's about to introduce his iPhone, he's taken a huge chunk of social media bang up. Okay,
Sure.
straight off.
Sure.
So, Mike Cannon Brooks has stopped the demerger of
AGL, yeah.
and the prolonging, because you look at, when you look at power, okay, and I'm going to go electric, or what we consider power at the moment. It comes down to, it's very simple. It's generate and transmit, or generate and store. Okay, here's your balance. Now, we've always done this baby, never done this baby.
Right.
This baby is starting. I'm fortunate enough to have 10 kilowatts of solar. It produces it produces more than I use.
Right.
When they cut out the 60-cent tariff, which is not the way to go about this, but
When they
who am I to complain?
Yep.
Okay, when they cut that out, I waited a year, and then I went into the Tesla battery to manage my power that I harness from the roof of my shed through the household supply first into the battery to charge the battery, which, when it's full, then I sell the power excess to the grid. The equation that I am on, and everything's about to change, is I pay 28.9 cents a kilowatt hour for what I take from the grid. I get paid 20 cents a kilowatt hour for what I sell to the grid.
Well, you're lucky.
I know, okay, purely lucky, I can assure you. It is not talent. Now, I do watch it every day through the power meter.
Right.
And I can tell you by rain chart or by power meter exactly what sort of a day it was for any day in the last few years.
Right.
Except on the odd occasion where I write forgotten.
Oh, yeah.
We're not going to dock me in, okay?
But how do we bring that back to macadamias? I mean, what are we trying to achieve with the power? I mean, we don't think there's going to be a big Elon Musk in macadamias, do
No, there's not. No, there's not. Okay, but what I don't want to see is something that has worked beautifully for not just nut growers, but for ancillary industries. Okay? And there's many of them. That's not the only one. But for ancillary industries, why would you tear that asunder? Now, I have a right as a levy payer, okay? I mean, as a taxpayer, I have rights as under the Taxpayers Charter. I mean, the Commissioner of Taxation frequently wants to stomp his iron boots all over them, but that's by the by.
Of course.
Now, I have a right as a levy payer. It is a voluntary taxation, as if I went down and bought tobacco. There's a voluntary taxation involved in that.
Sure.
Okay? You don't think of it that way, though, do you?
No, you think of it as compulsory.
Thank you. Okay? Now, here's my right as somebody who is having an input into that industry for that representation, which collects and spends and earns out of that levy. I have a right to expect it to be managed in a fair, emphasis fair, and reasonable fashion as any auditor can honestly draw a report from. I have that right. I know that as a contributor. Otherwise, I've got to walk away. And then we start another association. Let's call it the Small Growers Association, okay? Which Peter Fraser's already got a great award, okay? But
well, he got the Small Growers Award from the AMS.
Thanks.
That was a category of
thanks,
award.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay, but why categorise as well?
Yeah.
Okay, why you could have called it the most exceptional grower getting this many tonnes per hectare.
Right. But can I devil's advocate you though?
Please.
What if the large growers say to you, okay, Bruce, that's all very fine and noble and everything, but the way the AMS is now, it's completely biased in favour of small growers because numerically there's a lot more numbers of small growers, each with a vote, than there are large growers.
Okay, what are we voting on? Like, as a big grower, okay, specifically, what item are we voting on that says the small growers, because there's more of them, are disadvantaging the large growers?
Yeah.
Or is it all
this is
advantaging the macadamia industry?
no. I wanted to hear you first, but my own response to that would be, well, where have the large growers been diddled? I don't see how the large growers have been disadvantaged in any way to date. I mean, sure, they have a lot of seminars and training things that the big growers may not need, but there's also a lot of innovations from small farmers that get passed up to the big ones.
Everybody shares in the pool.
Yeah.
Okay, the people who don't are. There are none so blind as those who will not see, and none so deaf as those who will not hear. I can't put it any better than that.
That's true.
I mean, we've all got a tree of knowledge, okay? It doesn't choose who's going to pick its fruit, does it?
No, that is right. Yeah.
Now, I don't start off with these things with there is connivance afoot, okay?
Yeah.
But there are ramifications of change.
Yeah.
And people will get guided into this narrow passage.
Yeah.
Sometimes it leads to a paddock containing very little nutrition, I am assuring you, okay?
And yet no one's really ever called you a conservative, Bruce.
Believe
but
me,
this
Daniel,
is a conservative position you're taking.
Oh,
but I think
thoroughly believe in the conservative position.
Yeah.
That look,
where you are conserving something good.
Well, you've got these two brains, okay, that we all have, all right?
Yeah.
And I find that the one that is the admin side, which is unfortunately my forte, is not unfortunately either.
An old bean counter.
Bean counting is one, engineering is another.
Yeah.
They require a precision. The carpenter's rule is measure twice, cut once. Okay, that conservatism is the part of time spent in reconnaissance is never wasted. That goes hand in hand with the only limit is your imagination. Okay. That's where it comes down to. And I know I appear a raving loony because there is no normal, Daniel. Okay?
No.
The last definition of normal that you could actually associate with was on a washing machine before all the digital how to do it work.
Yeah,
they were clearly identified. Pull this now here and you're on normal, pal. That's it.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough.
Yeah. So, yes, I am very conservative in my approach. Yeah. I add things up, and if it doesn't weigh up economically, okay, cut your loss, bang, straight off.
Don't do it.
Okay, just don't even think. I'm ruthless like my father in that regard.
Yeah.
Okay. The only problem that I have is that I've got a little of my mother's side with the empathy, and so I tend to hang on to that cut-off point for a little bit too long on occasions.
Right, but not on this issue. No.
Look, honestly, people don't look at the wider picture. They get drawn into this, once again, this little tiny corral, okay, of perception. If you look at the bigger picture of the whole goddamn thing, pardon me, if you look at that bigger picture, there are, I like to call it the difference between the spirit behind the law or within the law and the letter of the law as it's implemented.
Yes.
And the two are quite often at loggerheads.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Look, so, you know,
look, for someone who's been in the industry that as long as you, it's a pretty solid perspective, I think. I just, I was going off gut feel, but I mean, look, it's going to be interesting. It gets decided, I think, later this year.
It is going to be very interesting, and even whether a member or a non-member, okay, anybody who's paying the levy to the association has a right, regardless, because they're paying their way in.
And the MS handles the levy. Yeah.
Yep. Well, if we come back to the contract that you have with the society, and that is there is an offer, an acceptance, and the consideration is your levy, not your membership fee. That's a further entitlement which entitles you to have a voice in how the association is run.
Of course.
Next level.
Yeah, fantastic. Bruce, thank you. I think we should end that there and allow others in the comments to sort of offer a view if they have. That's much more comprehensive than I a discussion than I had. So, but there may be more views that come up in between now and when the vote comes, and we'll no doubt be talking before then. So.
I certainly hope we are, because there's a lot of debate to go.
Yep.
If you're going to come to a happy resolution. I'll shut up now though, then.
No, all good for another time. Bruce, thank you for your time today. Very much appreciated. Fountain of wisdom as always. And I'll talk again soon. And viewers, bye for now. We'll catch you again soon.